Hey, I'm Coach Jay.
I'm the G-Man.
We've built this podcast for the hardworking men and women of the automotive community.
Some of you will listen and be entertained.
Others will listen and apply.
Our purpose is to provide both.
Welcome to the Hard Shop Life. That's ridiculous. Welcome back, everybody, to Hard Shop Life. I'm Coach Jay and the
G-Man.
In today's episode, G-Man, I'm so glad to be on here.
Today, I like that.
Today's episode.
I can't even duplicate that. That was awesome, man.
You like that?
Yeah.
So on today's episode, we're going to talk about one term that has resonated throughout the service and parts industry, actually in the automotive industry. And I'm telling you right now that this term, it's plagued us.
Oh.
It's plagued us time and time again. So for today's episode, we're going to talk about the phrase from hero to zero.
Yeah.
And one of the big reasons
everybody out there knows what that is.
Yeah,
Don't tell me you
I
don't.
know.
You're in the car business.
Yeah.
Hero to zero is like.
Yeah. Or in some other parts of the country, they say you're only as good as your last month.
Yeah. Well.
Right.
Yeah.
You're only as good as your last month. You know, it's like, so, you know, and so we're going to talk about, you know, how to properly address that.
Yep. Yeah.
Some terms and some insights that we've learned throughout the business about, you know, we've traveled to so many different stores, and I really have seen some incredible pioneers that have taken that term and turned it on its back by creating different effective methods to keep their employees and their people engaged, especially service advisors and salespeople, just like doing different initiatives. And we want to share that with our audience today. So we're going to talk about the term, you know, from hero to zero, what it means, how it affects us. Honestly, I think it messes with our brains.
Oh,
it messes with our confidence.
Yeah.
It just jacks us up.
Yeah.
You know, I remember back in the day when I was writing service, you know, it was like, I'll admit to it right now, first 3 days of every single month, hangover.
Yeah.
I was completely hungover. I would give you everything. I was the guy, and G-Man, you were there in those moments. I was there, the last one to leave on the very last day to make sure everything closed. I was making sure customers were picking up their car.
Yeah.
I was collecting credit cards. I was putting it to a receivables account for the next morning. I was doing whatever it took. And guys, I'm first to admit it. Like we whatever it took for it to count on that month, I was making it happen.
Yeah.
So,
well, I'm a big fan of that. I'm a big fan of wringing out every dollar you can.
Oh, dude.
You know, out of every month. And I know that I get a lot of puzzled looks, you know, in a lot of cases, especially when we take on a new client and we're talking with them, and where I'm like, all right, here we go. End of the month, we're going to close. Let's go, baby. And then I'm like, what are we else? What can we close? What do we got? You know, and they're just like, you know, it'll close next month. It'll be here next month. And it's like, no, if we can get it out of here, let's get it out of here. It kind of gets you into like a nice pattern of, you know, of cleaning up and not because I think if you relax too much, every month gets a little weaker.
Yeah.
And if you push hard, while it's hard to start from hero to zero, you know, I think one of the things that they're feeling is, and you were just talking about it, it's their psyche, right? And they're saying they're protecting their own psyche by rolling a few things over, knowing I'm going to close them early, which means I'm only zero for a short. I'm zero for a shorter amount of time, right?
Yeah. So, you know, not only that, are we going to talk about some good techniques in order for the managers and the leaders and advisors out there to know how to be able to engage and impact the mindset of this term, but more importantly, giving you some solutions from successful managers that have, again, turned it on its heel to check different things out. Because one of the biggest complaints we had, and we're going to address it, is we've had service managers come to us, you know what, man, honestly, one of the hardest things I tackle at the end of the month, it's that it's important for us, it's important for the general manager, it's important for the service advisor, it's important, but technicians, they don't care. And what I mean by that is because they work payroll time to payroll time. So if the end of the month is on a Wednesday, and they get paid at the end of the week on, or you know, their schedules for Friday, they don't care that you're trying to put all this emphasis on Wednesday. Look, the car is going to be done when I'm done with it, and that's going to be on Thursday afternoon or Thursday morning. Like, I leave at 4:30. It's the last day of the month. I don't care.
Yeah.
I don't care. And that's really has been one of the biggest things that we had to tackle that's been a frustration. It almost, you know, it's funny because most times technicians, have complained to us that they feel like they're not part of the team, or they're the last ones to know about anything, or they're not cared for, or they're disregarded or whatever. But at the end of the day, we're trying to bring them into something that's important to us, and they're like, sometimes texts have been like, I don't care. It doesn't affect me.
Yeah, it's pretty rare because you're right. They get paid weekly.
Yeah.
Or bi-weekly.
Or bi-weekly, whatever,
Yeah.
right.
And that's hard because everything's about compensation. So if their compensation is tied to a certain rhythm, that's the rhythm that they flow in. So like when I was a tech, I got paid every week. Mm-hmm. And so that means I went from hero to zero every Monday.
Right.
So I'd leave the dealer on a Friday night or a Saturday night after finishing up, and then I'd be like, all right, I did what I could, and then I'd show up there Monday morning, and, now your flag sheet starts over. You start from zero, and you're like, okay. So now when you're in that cadence and somebody else tries to introduce a different cadence to you, it's not a good match, So it's hard to include them in that. What you need to do is, rather than try to rope them into what's happening with the month, you can usually what I would do is put like an hours goal for the month to get them interested in those hours. Those hours apply to them, and get, as you get towards the end of the month, we're going to hit this goal, we're going to hit this number, and then it's like, okay, what can we do to hit this number, guys, as a team, right?
Yeah. So for me, when I was based on my compensation, it was I would get a big, massive bonus depending on where I would end up with CP labor sales, right? Mm-hmm. So then I would take my effective labor rate that I averaged, and I deduced it in from what I wanted to hit. Like, I want to do $100,000 in CP labor sales, right? Mm-hmm. How many, based on my effective labor rate being 200, how many hours would I have to get to for that month in order for me to hit that bonus?
Right.
And I would tell my techs, right? Yeah. So I'd go out there, guys, I really need some help here. I got 482 hours. I really need us. It's the last 2 days. We need to knock it out of the park. And my effort's going to be to give you guys as many hours as possible, but I need you guys engaged, because if I win this thing, or if I hit my bonus, right, I'm happy to give you guys something. And that was one thing that I've always advised advisors is get your technicians involved, right? Yeah. Talk to them, especially if you have a team of techs. Like, hey guys, who can take me over the finish line? If you can get this thing done, man, I'm going to hook you up, give you a little bonus or spiff or whatnot. So it was really dependent on that, right?
Well, you were talking about in the beginning, giving them strategies that they can use to try to help get over that cycle, right?
Yeah.
That feeling of, here we go again, and start the month all over again, right? Starting, it's like, I'm exhausted from the last month, Yeah. You have to find that motivation to get moving and to get everybody moving, get the whole team kind of fired up. And I think, as an advisor, my advice would be is to use that specific strategy you're just mentioning, is go out, meet with your techs and say, okay, new month, guys, here we go. We're going to get started. What do we got? What can we do? Mm-hmm. And kind of get them fired up, because the faster you can get upsells or information coming back from your techs, the faster you can kind of get out of that zero position, right?
Right.
And start putting some numbers up on the board.
Yeah. One of the things I've also noticed is, and I think it was a great tactic, is I had a manager one time I was working on. Actually, it's in Montana. It was a guy in Montana.
Oh, Montana.
Right? Yeah,
wow.
Montana. One of our old clients in Montana. And what he would do is he would set this standard for the advisors going, it would be a race first to 100 hours.
Okay, yeah.
Who got first to 100 hours, and they would get some kind of massive bonus, right? Like, here's $1,000 for the first 100 hours sold at the beginning of the month, right? So, and it was like, you can sell, if you're selling 500 hours a month, right, or you're selling 1,000 hours a month or whatever, the first 100, who gets to the first 100 hours will get $500 or $1,000 or whatnot, right? And it became a chase. It was like, man, but here's the one thing. It only counted on ROs written from day one. So it wasn't any holdover, because he wanted to make sure that the advisors were focused on closing the end of the month, right, and starting fresh with the fast start on, let's say April 1st, right?
Yeah.
And then you just take off. First to 100, get first 100 hours sold, bam, gets there, right? And it didn't matter. It didn't matter if it was warranty. It didn't matter if it was the only thing that did matter was it couldn't be internal. Okay? So you couldn't be like, I want all the, give me all the used cars.
Yeah, right.
You can't do that, right? That's not the fair. But it was anything that was
maybe write off 1,000 hours for a penny.
Right? But it was something like that got you going faster. Staying in the mindset of being a hero was probably one of the most critical things to get you uplift going for the month, right?
Yeah.
Because you always know, I mean, time and time again, G-Man, and for those of you guys that are listening to us, I know you experience it. Like, whenever we look at our scoreboard, right, and we have our scoreboard, the first 3 days, like, I'm like, where's the numbers?
I
Like,
know.
well, there's really nothing to report, man. We're still, my guys aren't moving. We got stuff in the shop. We closed really hard for the last month. Like, and I'd be like, we you got to get the ball and momentum to be continuous, right? And we, G-Man, I mean, I know I've heard from some of my clients, it's like, hey, man, everybody needs a day of rest. Like, I don't want to push too much pressure on my guy. I don't want to burn them out. They're going to get burnt out. And I'm like, really? Because the electric company doesn't seem to be burnt out by me having to pay my bill or my rent, right? When my rent's due, I got to pay that rent.
I was gonna say the rent doesn't stop.
It doesn't stop.
The rent doesn't take a pause. The light bill, your car payment, your kids' braces, like none of that stuff pauses because
It doesn't.
you want to take a break and lay down. And the truth is that if anybody's ever anybody's listening to us, if you've ever done any kind of like physical activity, heavy physical activity, where you're kind of pushing yourself out beyond your limits, running a marathon or even a 5K or doing so I used to do a lot of long distance cycling, right?
Mm-hmm.
And 100-mile bike rides and stuff. And, you would think that stopping to recharge and take a break would help you, but it absolutely hurts you. Getting back on the bike is so hard.
It is so hard.
And we used to do this ride around Lake Tahoe. And you would go and you'd ride, all the way around, starting in South Shore in the casinos area, down there in State Line, and you'd ride all the way around the west side of the lake, around the top, and stop at the very top of the lake at an area called Kings Beach up there, and they'd have like a lunch stop. And so sometimes we'd go up there and we'd stop and like literally take a break and rest and like, maybe change our socks or something. And I remember those rides where we braked more. It was so hard to get back on the bike and get moving. And then you had this great climb. And it's funny because it really, that ride is a lot like what we're talking about, because we'd stop at Kings Beach, which is on a flat.
Mm-hmm.
And right after that, you'd have to climb.
Yeah, so you're thinking of getting the rest.
Yeah.
You're thinking, look, we should get rest before we hit that climb,
Yeah.
right? But the truth is you lost the momentum
Yeah.
to just be like, hold on, it just kept going.
And then you're miserable. You
Right.
get back on the bike, your legs feel like 100-pound weights, and you just feel miserable climbing up that. You're better off just staying on it. So I think, one technique or strategy really, and you're saying it right now, is like to stay in the hero mode and not go to the zero mode. Mentally, don't go there. And I mean, that's a big, you hear a lot of entrepreneurs, self-help people talking about that all the time. And we talk about that a lot between the two of us internally with our team here, because being an entrepreneur, there are days when you just don't feel like doing it.
Yeah.
You just don't, and there's nobody telling you have to,
Yeah.
right?
Yeah.
And so
you got to put it on yourself, man.
it's on you.
You got to wake up
Yeah.
and like, dude, I got to do this.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying?
And
I
you gotta
I
grind.
agree with that.
Yeah.
One of the things I
So,
struggled
but before you jump next,
go
just
ahead.
like that I want to zero that or close the circle on that point. It's just everybody. There's nobody that's immune to that hero to zero feeling. There's nobody immune to that thing where you just feel like, God, I can't do it can't do another day. I can't do another. I don't want to start in it. The key is to recognize that mindset, cancel that mindset, and then do something to correct that thing. And I think, like we're saying, get your technicians involved, get some upsells, get some traction, find a small win, find something easy you can win at, and then use that to put a little wind in your sails and get moving. Like I always feel like if I get up in the morning and I'm just thinking to myself, I'm just going to stay in bed, I'm not going to get up. And then what I do is I say, well, first of all, I yell at myself for about 5 minutes.
Yeah.
and ridicule myself.
Yeah.
And then I get up and I go and I try to find something. What can I accomplish right now, right away? Give me an easy thing I can just jump on. And then I do that and I feel a lot better, and I get moving.
Yeah, and another technique I was shared with last time or from another manager is they have they have Club 15 and Club 30. Club 15, Club 30. So let's say that you had 10 advisors. So Club 15 would be 5 advisors and Club 30 would be the next. And so that 15 that team of advisors that they would work from the 1st to the 30th, right? And they would be monitored, like how are you performing that? And then put them against the other team, which would be from the 16th to the 15th of the next month. See what I'm saying? So the end of the month was happening twice a month all the time.
Yeah.
Because they were pushing like,
Yeah.
hey, Team A, like
Right.
you guys are you guys are coming in strong at the end of on the 30th. Team B, you got 15 more days to catch up. You got to get going.
Yeah.
And so it would spike, to get it going, and then you'd have the other one getting ready to do their thing, right?
Yeah.
And so it was constant momentum of having two different viewpoints. Now, respectfully and mindfully, like the manager was struggling sometimes because the manager was always about end of the month. And they wouldn't put a lot of emphasis on the 15th. Does that make sense? Because the whole store is in the mindset of end of the month. The whole store's doing their thing.
Yeah.
You see what I'm saying?
Yeah.
So then the manager then suggested and spoke to the GM, like, how could we initiate this for the sales department to see if we can create that incentive or create that momentum, right? Unfortunately, the general manager was not interested.
It's like, nah.
We don't need to do that. Yeah, that's great. I'm glad you did it. Glad that you're doing it, and it's going good for you. But yeah. Let's keep variable and fix, right? Which is unfortunate because when you're trying to really create an atmosphere of continuous momentum, you really need the backing of the whole executive team.
You really do. It's tough. It's really tough on them because the sales department and the sales cycles are a lot more difficult than ours. Their hero to zero is like a huge cliff. Because think about it, they get they're doing 10 deals a month. If you're a halfway decent salesman, you're doing 10 a month, and so what are you doing? You're doing a car every other day at best. You have less ups.
Let's talk about variable for a second, bro. Let's talk about in my experience with variable, it really is the last 10 days of every month.
Oh, yeah.
What I mean by that is that's the mindset of the salesperson.
Yeah.
The salesperson's going to do 1, 2, 3 of the 10 cars the first 20 days of the month.
Yeah.
Right? The last 10 days of the month, you're going to knock out the 7 other cars. So my question to that is why? Like, why have that mentality throughout? Is it like, oh, well, I'm not really worried about it until, I got to pay my rent or whatever. I mean, what is it?
But that's the thing. I think the thing is in a lot of cases, who talks about that a lot, and I love it when he talks about it, is The Rock. Have you ever seen that where he talks about having his back against the wall? He gives a speech to a bunch of guys, and he talks about like every time he has to have his back against the wall. He has to feel like he's backed into a corner, and he's got no other mode, no other way out of it, but to just fight and go forward. And so he says he never allows himself to feel like he's ahead. He always has to feel like he's
behind.
Or not even just behind, but like he's like literally you have nothing to lose. You see what I mean? So what ends up happening is, like, think about the sales guy starts the sales month. You got to get leads, you got to make phone calls, you got to make appointments, and it's a slow beginning. And then they get to the end, and it's like you see the finish line, and you're like, oh my God, I got to get there. And they just start ramping up their activities to get faster to go. Well, if they started the beginning of the month feeling like they could already see the end,
I mean, it
would be done.
Again, you can do the fast start there too.
Yeah,
First to 5 cars. First to 5 cars out.
Yeah.
Just let's go. You know what I'm saying? If I was a general manager of a store, I'd be
first
like,
to 5 would be awesome.
First to 5 cars out. I'm going to give you $500. Let's go.
Yeah.
Let's go. I don't care what
first car.
First
would be
car
great.
as well. You know
First
what I'm
deal
saying?
on the books. Let's go.
Look, guys, and to our audience members, I'm telling you right now, give this episode to your general managers and owners.
Yeah.
Like everything we do, and it's funny because I have heard from general managers, right? Our buddy Luis goes, man, I have adapted the stuff you guys did for fixed operations in my variable operations.
Yeah.
And man,
Yeah.
I wish you guys would come in.
Yep.
I need you. It's funny because he called me and said, bro, can you just please come talk to my sales team?
Yeah.
Like just come talk to them. Just give them some little nuggets and get them ramped up. They need that energy. They need that intro, right? And Luis, this is for you, brother. Get the fast start going for them. I haven't heard you say that you've done that. Get the fast start going. First 5 cars, first car out, whatever it is, get it on the books and get it good. You know what I'm saying?
So we do that in Service Drive, right? So
Yeah.
go back to hero to zero.
Yeah.
You're an advisor. You're starting out. The manager too, right? Manager starting his financial statement, starting over, and So you want to get something going. So like as what we tell managers to do, right? What we coach them on doing is every day you need to have some sort of fast start to get those guys fired up for the day because it creates that momentum. So even each day we're kind of doing the hero to zero psychology because we're saying, all right, first guy to sell an alignment, first guy to sell, 5 services, first guy to sell, $3,000 or, whatever it is, and try to get something to happen that day fast as possible. Within the first couple of hours, I want something to happen because that builds for the next day. Well, if you're starting over and it's the first of the month if you're listening to this right now, our plan is to release it so it's at the first of the month. So you should be hearing this and taking action.
Yeah.
This is the action I would
This is
recommend
it.
taking. And this will help your advisors get excited too, right? Because it'll build enthusiasm for them.
Yeah. No, I agree with that. And for that reason, I mean, zero to hero is just a mindset.
Yeah,
It's
100%.
just
100%.
it's just if you can keep it hero all the time, then that's it. And I don't want to hear excuses. Like I hear all the time, well, I'm a realist, G-man. I'm a realist.
The realist.
I want to be real.
For all you realists out there. Oh, I'm sorry, you were being serious.
No, I'm just telling you, bro. Like I was gonna bring a little bit of the single Jane. Like I was talking to the girl. I'm talking to a young lady, right? And she goes, "I'm kind of a realist." I'm like, "Oh man, don't talk to me about."
To you, it's like that's a 4-letter word. That's like me sticking my middle finger out.
Yeah,
or something.
yeah. You know what I'm saying? Like,
oh, God,
yeah, no, it's just what it is.
Yeah.
I get it. Like, oh, I'm a realist. Okay, so am I, and. I don't live in wackadoodle school.
I'll tell you this. Nobody's ever done anything great by being realistic. So
right.
if you're going to start out from hero to zero and year 0 is being realist, then you're going to have a long climb.
I mean,
be unrealistic with yourself.
Absolutely.
Give yourself big goals.
Yes.
Challenge yourself. Why not?
Yes, exactly. Right? Like, it's funny because we always glorify the people that are super famous and have achieved and accomplished amazing things. And then you ask them a question and they go, hey, what's your secret to success? And universally, it's universal, right? They say, I didn't listen to the people that thought that I was crazy.
Yeah.
I never listened to the realists out there that said I was crazy.
Well, I mean, the number, and that's the thing. So the number one detractor for an entrepreneur, the number one, I would say, for lack of a better word, naysayer, is going to be your friends and family.
Yeah.
And they will tell you you're crazy. They will tell you you'll fail. They'll tell you all these things they do it with positive intent.
Yeah.
They're just trying to help you.
Yeah.
But at the end of the day, to do something crazy like that, to be an entrepreneur, take that leap, you have to be a little unrealistic. And I think I like to look at advisors and service managers, especially in the modern service departments these days, the way they have been trained and the way we operate. They're kind of operating their own business, right? Service managers are operating there, and the advisors are operating their own little micro business. So they're really like entrepreneurs.
Yeah.
And being an entrepreneur means, you got to have a little bit of that spirit in you, that you go out and attack and you're kind of a self-starter. It's really, it's the hustle that brings us all to the automotive business, right? And so I think there is that part of you where you need to kind of think about that and use some of those entrepreneurial tools and mindsets to help you so that way you don't get stuck in this zero thing and it'll wear you out.
Yeah.
I think that cycle, if you think about my cycling analogy and go back 5 minutes, because I'm not going to use it again, but just think about that having to now restart, it's not the ride. The ride is doable. The ride's completable. I've done it many, many, many times. It's not an incredibly difficult ride. It's the stopping and starting that's the problem. So think about your cycles, hero to zero. If you allow your emotional state to fall into that gap, then restarting it's going to be really, really difficult.
So here's my question for you, G-Man, and this is going to be something that a lot of the managers are going to ask. When do I start, I guess, instigating? When do I start talking about momentum for the following month? How do I keep my advisors, how do I keep my sales team, how do I keep my team in general from slumping into this end of month, like ending, it's going to be, again, the zeros coming and it's a full reset.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? Because sometimes, and one of our closest buddies, and pals, he always says, he's like, listen, I want to celebrate our wins and then let's get back to work. Right? I don't want to hold on. Well, that was yesterday, or that was last week, or that was last month,
Yeah.
right? How do we keep the momentum going, right? And I don't know, I'd feel like I would intertwine it. I would be like, another thing, and this is how they do it. This is why they do it. But most corporations, most business entities, they evaluate success quarterly.
Yeah.
So the first month, kind of sucked. Let's roll it into the second one. Let's create an average, and let's see how let's see what our average is going to be, and let's improve that. Right? They do it for CSI. They do it for so maybe that's another approach. Maybe that's another approach where they look at it going, hey guys, we're heading in the right direction. We want to do. Let's say that you're averaging $200,000, $250,000 in gross. So you for 3 months it's $750. You want to go to $900. Guys, for the first month, if we got to get to 300, let's keep rolling. Well, we're moving closer, and so now you've created a goal or a target that allows you to be there. Because listen, if you're tracking 900,000 in the first, for 3 months, right? What are the chances of you maybe pushing a little bit harder for $1 million? Because you never know, you might be ahead. You know what I'm saying? Because then you move it. So it's one of those things. Hero again is a mindset.
Yeah.
It's 100% mindset. And you cannot, and you should never allow, and you should never admit, right, that anybody is a zero.
Yeah.
Anybody.
Yeah.
Right? Because that mentality in itself shuts the whole ideology down. It sets the whole thing of success and, pretty much winning down.
Well, I mean, yeah. We're just saying this business, whether you're on the car sales side or F&I, or whether you've worked your way up to GM or FOD or service manager, or you're an advisor or technician, doesn't matter. It attracts people who want to hustle.
Yeah.
Like it's just this industry does.
Yeah. And I'll tell you.
So if you got the hustle, you need to stay. You need to keep the hustle
Keep
going.
the hustle
It's gotta
going.
go.
And I'm going to tell you right now, this not only does it apply for end of month. I'm not talking about that.
Yeah.
I'm talking about things. Perfect example. Another advisor, I had an advisor the other day reach out to me and goes, hey, Coach Jay, I really need a little bit of help. I'm in some kind of slump. Like I've gone from being the NPS CSI superhero, right, to being like a zero. I'm getting some detractors. I'm getting some bad results. I don't know what's going on. And then you fall like, I need to get myself corrected. I need to get myself back on the bandwagon, and I'm struggling. What words of advice have you given me so I can get myself going again? Because it's true. It does it to us.
Yeah.
Something affects us, right? And then you start looking. Same thing. I had another conversation today with another couple of managers saying, I got this one service advisor that's just struggling and their numbers just plummeted.
Yeah.
And then I said, okay, well, when did it happen? And we did the research. Actually, it happened closer to the 12th of the month. I'm like, well, it's the 30th of the month. What happened around the 12th, right? Let's pull some stuff. I go, I don't see anything. I'm not really paying attention to it. And lo and behold, I said, let's look at the CSI. Did you get any responses?
Yeah.
Boom. Lo and behold, on the 10th, the advisor gets a response from a customer blasting them because, I felt like there was too much sales pressure and I was trying to be sold something that I didn't need. Didn't make me feel comfortable. I don't know if I'm coming back to your store. So what did that do? That jacked up the mind of the advisor.
Yeah.
Now they thought about, am I being too aggressive? And then their marks have gone through the toilet. You know what I'm saying? I'm like, you need to have that conversation. They got jacked up by this one thing, right? And service managers, how often do they do it? We did it all the time, bro. Every time you got a bad survey, you're going to go lynch your poor advisor. Hey, man, what'd you do? Like, what the hell happened? Why'd you mess this up? What's going on? You know what I'm saying?
Oh yeah.
And so the thing is, you better get that back, and
fair, not fair, but it's went down.
It's how it would go down.
Yeah.
And so the thing is we were always under the microscope of these little tiny things, and those things. I mean, our past mentor told us, he's like, death by 1,000 paper cuts.
Yep.
And every single little thing will start cutting you down. Right.
Yeah.
And if you don't create awareness to those things, because I always say it, awareness is power. Awareness is power. And you got to look at those little intricacies in order for you to identify, okay, what do I need to do to improve my team? What do I need to do myself?
Yeah.
Right? If I'm the service advisor, if I'm the salesperson, if I'm the finance manager, what do I have to do myself to get out of this rut? Right?
Yeah.
And when I have people like a service advisor reaching out to me and said, hey, Coach Jay, I just need I need some help. I need some perspective. I need some, hey, I'm going to be here to help you. That's what we do, right? And it doesn't matter how that happened. I mean, I commend that advisor for going that extra step, right? One of our one of the top service advisors in the world for Subaru, right? He was outstanding, was part of our team briefly, doing his thing out there, was Abel.
Abel, yeah.
And Abel's the one who reached out to us working at a store, said, hey, Coach Jay and the G-Man, I listened to your podcast. I think you guys are amazing. I wish that I can, convince my managers to bring you guys in and help us out. But either way, is there any way that I can pay for individual, coaching? What do I need to pay for? And I'm like, dude, this guy's going to pay us? Like, this advisor, right? Because he wants to be better. He's top 3 in the nation. He goes, I want to be better. I want to improve.
I'll tell you what, I've been doing, we've been doing this 10 years now, maybe a little more than 10 years. That's the first time I've ever seen an advisor actually pay for his own training.
Yeah.
That was pretty impressive.
But that's what it takes.
Yeah.
That's what I'm talking about. Performance. That's what I'm talking about. People who want self-improvement. That's very entrepreneurial.
Oh, he's very much what I would call an entrepreneur, right?
Yeah.
Because he's got that entrepreneur spirit, but he works for an organization for whatever reason and wants to do that. But yet he approaches every day with the same kind of energy that we do, right? As entrepreneurs. And so, I think there in this business too, I think there are a lot of people like that. They definitely have a lot of that spirit. I mean, God, there are so many people we've experienced, across Kansas City. We worked at many dealers. There was a lot of guys. I don't know if I want to throw names out, but there are a lot of them there that had that spirit, and I could picture them right now. But yeah, you and I think, again, to do this and do it successfully, you have to have some of that.
You do.
You can't have zero.
No, you can't. You can't, and you got to have the support and backing of your leadership in order for you to keep that momentum going.
And I think too. So that let's touch on that for a second. So as a leader, as a manager, I think your cycle's a little different than if as your advisors.
Mm-hmm.
I think you're starting to think about the next month, probably with still about a week left to go in the month that you're in.
I would agree with that.
So if I'm in March, and I'm thinking about April, I probably start thinking about April a week ahead of time.
Yep.
Getting myself planning. What am I doing? Prepping myself to see what kind of momentum I'm going to build into that month, and getting myself set to start to meet with my team and kind of get my agenda ready, right? Get my game plan ready. And sometimes you're even further ahead depending upon your situation. Like if typically you live in an area that's got a lot of heavy seasons, that's going to be a tough month. You're planning your marketing strategy way ahead of that. So at any rate, so you're a little bit ahead of the game, but you bring your leadership team into that if you have it. So if you got a big enough store, lane managers and shop foremen, production managers, etc., you'd bring them into that meeting, start planning and start getting ready. But not your advisors, because you don't want your advisors to take their eye off the ball. They still need to finish the month.
Right.
And so then for the advisors, really finishing that month out, like really kind of sprinting to the finish line if you need to, getting it done, and starting that next month. I think when you show up that next day, you got to give yourself, a little bit of time in the morning when you get there to kind of get yourself collected and say, all right, what is this month going to shape up like? And if you're, and not all leaders do that, but we've seen a lot of leaders, and we coach leaders to do this, is that first week of that month, and hopefully it's faster, is to get with your advisors this first few critical days and set their goals. I don't want to do it beforehand because, again, I don't want to distract them because we still got a month to wrap up, right? And I want to keep them focused on that goal and hitting a big number. But they need to, like, at some point, you can't wait too long because, it's like a time warp. Half the month's over, before you know it.
I hate
Turn
to say
your back.
I hate to say it, but I've seen the data. I've been there. The best results, the best return on your time is doing your goal setting day one. The very first day.
Yeah.
You come in, you have all the paperwork ready, you have everything set up, you're going to sit down because you gives you the opportunity to praise them for doing a great job yesterday to close the month, and let's keep the momentum going, and let's talk about what we're going to do and how we're going to jumpstart this thing to see how you're going to end this week, right? Regardless if it's Thursday, show me what you can do, man. For Thursday and Friday. The end of the month was Wednesday, Thursday and Friday.
Yeah.
Let's see what you go. Let's go into the next month and make that happen.
But that manager, to your point, the manager should be thinking about that
a week
before, getting
Correct.
ready. We need to set the goals. What are we thinking?
Right.
What do we need to? Because you're setting your overall goal, and then that goal needs to be divisible by the people that you have. Their individual goals better match your overall goal, because if they don't, you got to disconnect, right?
Right.
But you don't know that if you're not ahead of it. So then they get behind it. And, heck, you and I do this we hear this all the time. Managers say all the time they just don't have time. They can't get to it. You don't understand. And, we just did an episode that went out just recently, I think, called Flow, where we talked about flow, right? And part of, if you go back and listen to that one, part of what we talk about is your personal flow, which really goes back to time management. And if you need to manage your time correctly, so you're not being whipped around, right? Like a tree in the wind. You have to be in control of your time, so you can say, okay, let's say the month starts on Monday for some great reason. Monday, I'm going to spend my day, or the good majority of my day doing goals with my advisors. So you can get through as many. Because if you got 10 advisors, a goal setting is about 30 minutes a guy, right? So you're going to have probably 4 or 5 hours worth of work minimum, which is a good chunk of your day. So which means you better block that time out, or you won't get it done, and then it'll be the next day and the next day and the next day. So, you have to. I think you got to get in front of it, just like you were saying. You've got to start doing that. Set your goals. Try to get it day 1, day 2, as fast as humanly possible. Be really jealously protect your time.
But G-Man.
Here it comes.
But G-Man, that day is our manager's meeting, and I have to go because my general manager.
Yep.
Listen, if you were preparing the week before, wouldn't you have plenty of time to go to your general manager and go, hey, Gary, you know what? I know that we have the general manager's meeting, or we have the manager's meeting on this particular day, which is the first day of the month. Any way we can delay it one day, I'm going to sit down, get my sales team going, get everybody have a fast start. I want to sit down with everybody so we can really, really attack the month right on day 1 to give you the results that you expect and that our ownership deserves.
Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
I don't know any general manager. No, we're not going to do that. Come on, man. If you can sell it, right? If you're a good salesperson because you got here, you can sell to somebody up that tells you, hey, man, this is why I'm doing this.
Yeah.
And this is why it's going to be beneficial for us, right?
Well, in a lot of cases, the managers' meetings usually, typically they're not a marathon 4-hour meeting. So if it's
you can figure it out.
If it's an hour out of your day, you can kind of plan around it. Maybe you get to, think about it. Like, if your goal is to do all 10 advisors on day 1, that's a really good goal, and I would fight for that. But if you don't hit it, okay. So you did 8. Maybe you did 7. That's still way better than doing 1 or 2 or 0.
That's weak.
That's weak.
It's weak, bro. It's trying.
I'm just saying.
It's trying. I don't accept that.
Well,
I don't accept. Why do you give him an out? Why do you give him an out? I don't understand.
Because
we've been doing really good. Like, we've been super productive. Like, we came right in. We didn't give any banter because we've had some feedback. Like, oh, you guys talk about too much Coach Jay, whatever. And then next thing you know, we have audience members sending me an email going, hey, Coach Jay, man, I hope everything's good with you, bro. Like, keep us in the loop. Like, how are things happening out there?
Yeah.
I'm like, you were just complaining that you don't want to hear about, single J.
A lot of people are concerned about single J, yeah. So
they are really concerned about single J.
Yeah,
I appreciate
that. A lot of feedback. It's good. Good. Thank you for our audience out there. We really appreciate
you guys. You guys are awesome. Yeah,
absolutely.
This is amazing.
That's a lot of heartfelt, concern, which is good.
And for my people out there in Nebraska, I'm not going to take one for the team for your warranty administrator. Not interested. Not interested, dude. I saw pictures. Not interested.
All right. Listen, all I'm saying is it's way better to have a big goal and miss it than it is to really have a small goal and hit it or no goal at all.
Yeah.
You see what I mean?
Yeah.
I'd rather say I'm going to do 100% and do 80 of it rather than say, well, 100% is too much and I'll never get it, so I'm just not going to do it at all. And that's the problem I think that people fall into, and maybe I'm giving them an out.
You're giving them an out.
I
disagree. I'm going to tell you why. Because if you're a good leader, right, and you say something, you do it. Or else your people won't take the seriousness of what you're saying.
Yeah.
You know what I'm saying? And I know, I get it. But if you're going to say, and you tell your people, hey, listen, I'm going to go through this as best as I possibly can. We're going to make it happen. But we're not leaving until we get this thing done. It's that important. It's that important that I have one-on-ones with you guys. And tell your people, listen, I'm going to do whatever it takes. Hey, have somebody else handle some of the customer concerns. Like the building, if the building's on fire, call 911. Right? I mean,
Yeah.
that's the level of commitment. If I'm committed and I'm disciplined enough, I'm going to make this thing happen.
Well, I
And-
will say, how many managers lock themselves in the office and do payroll and cannot be interrupted?
Exactly.
I would say a strong 90% of the managers I've been around, they know they can't, because otherwise they'll never get it done. And there's a hard deadline. You got to get it done.
Bro, because they're terrified of the controller.
Oh,
You
yeah,
know how
of
many
course.
controllers we've
Of course.
known?
Yeah, I'm
My
terrified.
God, I'm terrified.
I've never met your controller out there, but I'm terrified.
I'm already scared of her. I'm already
Yes.
scared of her. Right? I mean, seriously.
That's a that's
That
a
is so
scary
true.
Position.
It's
You do not want to
terrifying.
get you do not want to get on their bad
You
side.
never want to do
At
that.
all.
Never
At all.
want
Take
to do
very
that.
good care of the office because they have a lot of work to do. It's an important job, and you need them so much
Look,
that you can't mistreat them.
I'm telling you right now, to my controllers out there, to my CPAs, to my CFOs, all you out there, right? I know, and we've seen it, G-Man, we've seen it. Behind every successful business store, right, there's a strong-willed controller who's controlling it. Like, they're just on it,
Yeah.
right? I mean, I've known some incredible professionals who have done super extraordinary things, right? Some that I didn't like so much. Some I didn't like, but unbelievable at doing the job, right? And making magic happen.
Yeah.
Because that's what they do.
Yeah. No,
That's what
for
they do,
sure,
and you got to
for
commend
sure.
them. You know what I'm
Yeah.
saying?
So, at any rate, if you can do, because there's a consequence, right? And the consequence is one that's very tangible. It's coming to you, that anger from the controller, from your payroll department that you're late or you didn't get it done. That sit down you have to have with the GM because, hey, bro, you got to get this, that stuff is very it will cure you of procrastination. And then
I agree with that.
real quick. And then so if you can do that because of that consequence, the consequence of not setting goals with your people is equally, if not more important than getting your payroll done. Really? Right? If you think about it, it's
100%.
probably more important because you
More.
got to pay your people
Right.
with the money you're collecting, but it's less, it doesn't slap you in the face.
Well, then,
If you don't do it, nobody
Here-
throws you in the clink.
Here's a suggestion, and it's a challenge out there, and I would challenge anybody. Send me an email, Jair at JAIR@JDI Coaching or info@JDIcoaching.com, and this is what I want you to do, and tell me if it works because I want some feedback. We've been posting on Facebook. We've been posting a lot about these episodes. Just put it in the comments section. Let me know that you listened to it. But here's the thing. If you really, really, really are committed to greatness, right, and wanting to do these things when you set goals, I would challenge two people. One, if you're a general manager listening, I would demand that your service manager give you the goal sheets, give you the report of their goals the very next morning. I need this on my desk by the second, every second. I need to know on the second of every month. I want to know. I want the stack of goals. I want to know the numbers. I want to know where my team is going to, where your team is going to be, and it shows me that you've had that conversation with them.
Yeah.
Right? Service managers, directors, same thing goes for you. If you really want accountability, if you really want to know how to be better at something, go tell somebody who's in charge of you. Go tell your gentleman. I would say, G-Man, I need you to do me a favor. I'm trying to improve. I'm trying to create accountability for myself. I need you to do me a favor. I need you to ask me for this every single second of every month. On the second day, I need you to demand it because it's going to make me better. And I promise you that if I stay this disciplined, you're going to get the results that you expect out of this department.
Yeah. Yeah. Why not? Why not do that? So why don't we give them? Why don't we recap and summarize and give them some of the takeaways? Right. So if you're a manager, my suggestion is start thinking about your months. Kind of give yourself a day or two beforehand. Maybe have a meeting with your leadership team. Start to strategize what you're going to do, how you're going to set your goals for the coming month. So that way you're prepared. Be ready to do goals. Get to those fast. If you have a lane manager, if you're a service manager lucky enough to have a large enough store to have a lane manager, you can give the lane manager that responsibility,
Yep.
right? But get it done. So I think setting goals is going to help your advisors with that hero to zero feeling. it'll help you so that you don't stay in the zero quite as long. And then I think if you're an individual advisor, starting that month over again is to really focus in on mindset. Don't let yourself feel like, don't get into that emotional cycle. Don't let the physical financial cycle of a financial statement in a car dealership to affect your emotional state. You got to keep yourself high.
Yeah.
But if it's me too, I think I would probably start kind of seeing, okay, I have some work in the pipeline that's going to carry through, and start thinking through the month instead of looking at the month as a cliff.
Yeah.
Because you will have some things, and you're going to ride a car on the 30th or 31st of the month that you can carry through into the next month if it's a large enough job. So start thinking a little bit more longer on a longer timeline, because looking past that ebb and flow, that heartbeat, I think will help you mentally too to stay in the game. And when you just don't feel like doing it, and you just feel like giving up, and you feel like I can't start another month over, I can't do this another day, you need to have something to change that emotional state. You need to find one thing every day to find a way to win. They talk about having a gratitude journal, and to me, I've always tried to do it, and I've done it kind of sporadically, and when I do it, it helps.
Weakest form of commitment, trying.
Yes, exactly, yeah. But the truth is, those kinds of things, like getting up, and then I don't feel like it. Okay, well, what is going good? What am I thankful? What is good in my life? And those things, like, they do make you feel better. They make you feel good.
They do.
And then do something that strikes something off the list.
Listen, and like I said, next thing, number 2, fast starts. Use some fast starts.
Fast starts. Yeah.
Use some fast starts. Think about some ways to get your team going so that they know, like, on the first of the month, first person to have 5 car sales, first person to, close these deals, first person to get me 10 hours, 100 hours, whatever it is. Find something to incentivize them to get going. You want to get them to keep going, right? And so I think that's a huge benefit. And like I said, the other thing was 15, the Club 15 and Club 30, splitting your team apart, and let's see how they can, do their part to keep the momentum continuous through the cycle of every month, right? Every day is every day. And we look at it as a day and not look at it as a month, and everybody else around it will look at it that way. I think that could be monumental for that, right?
Yeah.
And having a level of communication, making sure you have accountability measures in place. Like, I want to be able to keep this thing going, get support from up, right? You got to tell the people above you, hey, I want to get this done, right?
Yeah.
And I'm not talking about God or Jesus or anything. I'm talking about your upper management. Let's do
not
that.
The Heavenly
right?
Father.
Not the Heavenly Father, right?
The what do they call it? Your handler.
There you go. Whatever. And
your benefactor.
Yeah. So if you can do that, and you can set yourself straight and kind of snap yourself out of it, as leaders, it's our job to keep our people engaged and keep our people in the game
100%.
and make them going. And be respectful. I get, hey, you need a day to kind of reset. Then that's the day to reset. But I'm not going to allow 2, 3, 4 a week. That doesn't work here. You know what I'm saying? Like, I got to get you going. We got to take care of our customers, and we got to make sure that things are fruitful the way that they're supposed to be.
Yeah. Yeah, 100%.
That's all I got.
100%. All right, man. We want to thank you guys for tuning in to this episode of Hard Shop Life. Like we always say, like I say at the end of every episode, every broadcast, I really appreciate you guys tuning in. We can't even tell you how much we appreciate it, and getting listens and ears and your feedback and commentary, commenting on the show. It really just sends a message to us that what we're doing is having an impact, and we're sharing something valuable to you. We're trying to bring you relevant information from the field. You like it, you appreciate it. Not only follow us and keep listening so that way you get the latest and greatest content, but also, share it with your friends. Let your friends and colleagues know to listen in, and so we can grow our audience base. We had 25,000 downloads last time I looked, which, for a small automotive podcast, pretty awesome. Pretty happy with that. And so we want to keep that momentum going. So please help us share the show. It's been great. It's been great to hear from our audience. It's been great to hear about people who are concerned about Single J. We'll share some more Single J information on episodes to come ahead, just so you know that he's all right, functioning well, and he's in good hands. He's got me as his partner. So come on, please. I'm here for him.
I had a guy send me an email going, hey, Coach Jay, what's your favorite bourbon? And what do you drink? I'm like, I used to drink bourbon. Now I drink mezcal. And so,
Yeah. Don't send him alcohol.
Yeah, don't send me alcohol.
Anyway, again, thank you for tuning in, and we will see you on the next episode of Heart Shop Life.
Yeah.